Hi guys, thank you for joining me on this journey of preparedness. We all need to be in a time of preparedness and preparing for what's to come. There is no if, but when. We're in times of uncertainty, so being prepared is key. And I'm going to just give you guys some tips on things that I do for preparedness. I've been learning a lot over the last year or two on just how to, preserve food for a time of famine, when there is lack of food, when there is food shortages, we're going into recession, when there's inflation, where we can't afford food. This is going to help us and sustain us, by preserving our food now for those times to come. So I'm going to just give some pointers on what I do as far as preserving my food for longer shelf life. I'm going to do some raisins. And what I use are, and I'm also going to do some oatmeal packets. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to do some raisins. As I just stated, we're going to do some raisins. I have about 3 packs here. It's always good to use Mylar bags. I'm going to talk a little bit about Mylar bags and how Mylar bags work. But I'm going to put some raisins in there. Freeze-dried foods are great to put in there. You can also do dry foods. Oatmeal is going to be some, because storing up oats long term is genius, because they last forever. Rice is another thing. Dry beans is another thing. Sugar, get flour, and store it up in some Mylar bags. I'm going to show you guys how I stored my flour, sugar, and my rolled oats, also beans, all kinds of things. I'm also going to do some grits inside vacuum sealer bags. So I have the Mylar bags here, and I have the vacuum sealer bags that I'm going to be doing some storage in. All of these things, guys, you can get off of Amazon. Okay, so first things first, what you're going to need when you start preserving is oxygen absorbers. Oxygen absorbers are these little packets here that you see. They're going to take the oxygen out of the Mylar bags when you store them. This little pink circle means that the oxygen absorbers are still good, because you have to keep them in a sealed tight bag, so that because when it hits the oxygen, they start to fill up. They're absorbing oxygen, so you have to get it into whatever packaging you're putting them in, and you have to seal it up so that way it could work its magic, work its work. So these are 100 cc's. You can get anywhere from 100 cc's, 200 cc's, 500 cc's, and also 5,000 cc's if you are storing in a 5-gallon bag, which I'm going to show you what I've stored in my 5-gallon bags. These are the 100 cc's, 5,000 cc's. So I'm not going to open these up yet, because as soon as you open them up, you have to start working with them to get them inside the bags, so that way they don't start filling up, because when they start getting hard, then that the air has already started to fill up in them, and it may not be good to go in the bag. So you want to get them in the bags immediately. What I like to do, just a little pointer, is get all of the product inside the bags that you're going to be using, have them sit out until you're ready to close them up, and open up your oxygen absorbers last, and put them in each bag, and then seal them up. I'm gonna let you know how many you need for each size bag you're using. A rough amount, because it's never really a specific number of oxygen absorbers you may need for a bag, but different size bags need different amounts of cc's. So here you have gallon bags, then you have your quarts, and then you have your half quarts. So 3 different sizes. The gallons are generally gonna need about 2 500 cc's. There's 500 count. These are 500 count I have in here. I'm not gonna open it. When you're done with your oxygen absorbers, another pointer, you wanna get them back into either sealing them up inside of a freezer bag, or you can put them in a mason jar and just close it up. I usually get the oxygen, the jar sealer, where it's you put it on here and it sucks the air out of it. But even if you just close it up, it will still, the oxygen absorbers will seal the top and it'll be fine. So you don't really need to have one of the electric vacuum jar sealers. That's what it is, an electric vacuum jar sealer. I'll also show you what that looks like in case maybe you might want to purchase one. But this is the vacuum sealer that you use for just, you know, vacuum sealing food or whatever products you want to vacuum seal to preserve its life, because it sucks the air out of. The same thing that these oxygen absorbers are going to be doing with the Mylar bags is what these are going to do with the oats I'm going to put in here, and also the grits packages I'm going to put in here. So before I start, I'm going to just show you guys exactly what it'll look like when the oxygen absorbers starts working in the bags. This is rolled oats. It'll start, if you see it's crinkled because the oxygen absorbers absorbed all the air that was in there. This is sugar. I didn't put one in the sugar because sugar gets really hard if you put the oxygen absorber in there. But I also have my bread flour here, and these are just, you know, ways I'm preserving some of the items that I have, some of the food that I have that lasts a little longer than normal. Yeah, so also what the Mylar bags do, just in case you're wondering, the Mylar bags are for keeping the light out. It keeps the light out. It keeps light out because you want to preserve your food in a cool, dry, dark place. These Mylar bags is a dark place because it's in like aluminum, and it preserves it. They're made specially for preservation. So that's what that's going to do. Let's get started with doing some of these. Let's get started with putting some of these raisins inside of these Mylar bags. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up a couple of them. Just give me one moment. One moment, please. Okay, so start with the first pack of raisins. I'm going to pour them in my Mylar bag. You can put all kinds of things in Mylar bags, guys. You can put crackers. I've seen people do all kinds of food. Crackers, cheese, like Cheez-Its and cereal. Literally all kinds of things you can put in your Mylar bags. You just want to not any wet contents, not anything with too much moisture. Really dry goods, you know, or something that should go in, but not anything with too much moisture. These have, and also, you don't have to use these labels, but you want to know what you're putting in your Mylar bags, because if you open them up, they're going to be no good. The oxygen absorbers will be no good. You want to just start using whatever your food is in there. You just want to start eating it, because it won't be good for long-term preservation after you open it. What you can also do is, once you seal it, I have the one that has a Ziploc but some of them come without the Ziploc. What you can do is you can get like a flat iron or a regular iron and these heat, and you just seal it up at the top. You'll be amazed at how it just melts away. It'll just melt it together and it's sealed. You're gonna want to take as much air out as possible and then just put the flat iron on it and then just seal it together, or a regular iron, and just seal it together after taking out the air and dropping your oxygen absorbers in them. But also always just label what you have, label what the food is and the dates on there. You can do it with a marker, you can do it with labels, however you want to do it. Just make sure you label it so you know what you have. Okay, these little half quarts, little pints, these are pint-sized bags. These are gonna need about 200 cc's. These are 100 cc's, so I'm gonna put about 2 of them in each of these pint bags. So I have more raisins. I'm gonna get all of these inside some bags for you. Oh, I lost the raisin. Okay, you see it fills up pretty good to the top. You want to always make sure it's always filled up, and then but you're still able to close it. If you have less content in the bag, you're going to want to use more oxygen absorbers if it doesn't fill all the way up. So when in doubt, always just use more. That's just how it should go. When in doubt, use an extra oxygen absorber. For a gallon size bag, if you're putting something in these gallon size bags, I put cookies. I put things like cookies in mine. I've put all kinds of things in my gallon size bags. But when in doubt, just use extra. In these big gallon bags, I put about 500 cc's in these gallon bags. So you're gonna want to use about 1,000 for the gallon size. Okay, and let's wrap this up, and then we're going to put the oxygen absorbers in there next. Okay, all right, we'll go sit down. Okay, so now here comes the fun part. We're gonna add our oxygen absorbers. We're gonna add our oxygen absorbers to our table. I have a glass table. So we're gonna add oxygen absorbers to these raisins. I have 2 bags here. So I'm going to label them both right after I put the oxygen absorbers. Now we open these up. I'm gonna be fast. I'm gonna get my jar ready for them to go back inside. These also have, don't do this, use you see that pop? That's how you know when it's sealed. But they have a can opener, like a can opener for taking off the lids. But you see, like these, they're not hard or anything like that. These, let me show you the difference. This is the 500 cc, this is the 100 cc. This is a 5 gallon cc, 5 gallon. So, okay, this is turning purple. We gotta hurry up and get, you see how this turned purple that fast? And compared to when I told you guys it has to be pink, but it doesn't mean it's bad. I just opened them. That just means I have to hurry up and get them back inside a jar and get them sealed up. But that's how you know when they've been compromised, when they turn purple. You have a few minutes to work with them before you got to get it sealed back up. So I would say give yourself less than 2 minutes to start working with the oxygen absorbers, to do what you need to do and get them sealed up. 2 to 5 minutes, but you don't want to go past 5 minutes. 5 minutes may even be pushing it. So you see everything is already finished and they're just ready to go in and get sealed. gonna go ahead and seal, take out the air. Take out the air and seal them out. Take out the air in this one and seal her up. Oh, get out as much air as you possibly can, and then seal it up. You're gonna do that for anything that you're working with. You see how I took out the extra excess air? And then now the oxygen absorbers are gonna do the rest of the work. They're gonna do the rest of the work, and then I'm gonna hurry up and put my lid back on here and close this up. And you can get the electric, you can get your electric vacuum sealer to suck out the air, or these oxygen absorbers is going to suck all the air that's in this jar, and this is you're gonna hear like a pop. So you don't necessarily need to do that because it's gonna already do it with these oxygen absorbers in there. All right, so now I'm sorry, my daughter is just, Pooh, you gotta go sit down. Can you bring me a marker, please? Okay, so next we're gonna move on to the next thing. Okay, so yes, now we have our raisins. Now you see I put raisins, I put the year, the month, and the year. The month and the year. Okay, so that can be done with anything, guys. I mean, any dry food that's not too high in moisture. You know, I've done plantain chips. You can do chocolate. There's so many things that you can put in Mylar bags and preserve its life with oxygen absorbers. Cereal, you know, any of those things that you're going to want to put for pint size, you're going to want to use at least 200 cc's. If you have the 100 cc's, put 2 of them in there. When in doubt, always use an extra one. If you have the a quart size, you're going to want to put about 4 oxygen absorbers. You know, when in doubt, put an extra one. Same thing, a gallon size Mylar bag, whatever content you have in there, you're going to want to put at least about 1,000 cc's. When in doubt, put an extra one. Okay, so those are our Mylar bags. Food, how you preserve food in the Mylar bags, and that can, you know, last for, you know, a few years, I would say. It all depends. It honestly all depends, but it is going to preserve its life. It depends on what it is. When it comes down to things like the rolled oats that I showed you guys, your rice, you can put your rice in there. That will last indefinitely, like over 25 years, 30 years, it will last indefinitely. Your dry beans will last indefinitely, okay? Those are things that are going to last you pretty much forever. Okay, your rice, you want to get a lot of rice, a lot of beans. There's other ways to, you know, store outside of Mylar bags. That is just one of the ways that I stored mine. I've stored in other ways as well. You can get 5-gallon buckets and, you know, put your Mylar bags in 5-gallon buckets if you might be worried about little rodents, maybe mice or any of those kind of things. You might want to put them in the 5-gallon buckets, the food grade, so that way mice can't eat through them if, you know, you have that problem, or little bugs of any kind. But also the oxygen absorbers with the beans and the rice and things like that is going to keep weevils out of your food, because the weevils are these little bugs that can grow from the grain, you know, especially flour. Like if you don't dry your flour, put it in the freezer, make sure that any little eggs that might have hatched in there are frozen and dead. That can happen if you don't put oxygen absorbers. If you put the oxygen absorbers, they can't live in that environment because they need oxygen to breathe. So it's going to kill out whatever was in there. If you have enough oxygen absorbers in there to absorb all of that oxygen for those bugs to live. So that's one of the reasons why people use oxygen absorbers in their food, to keep them little bugs from growing in there. And you know, it's gonna also preserve its life. So yeah, rice, beans, flour, oats, you name it. Put it in the Mylar bags and start stocking up, guys. Just like Joseph in the Bible, when there was 7 years of plenty and then there was 7 years of famine. We want to make sure we are stored up while we have plenty for those times when we have not so much. Okay, so now we are going to move on to using our vacuum sealer bags. We was using these are Mylar bags. These are called Mylar bags. And now we're going to use vacuum seal bags. These little plastic bags, they're called vacuum seal bags. They're food grade. They're for storing literally any kind of food you can think of can go in here, especially if you have things that go in the freezer and you want to preserve its freezer life and without it getting freezer burned, and you know how the freezer can do over a long span of time with your food. Putting them in this and vacuum sealing the air is gonna do it justice. But also, I also put things like beans into these bags and suck the air out of it, because that's also taking out the oxygen. What else? I've done so many things. I put oats. So some of the same things that I put in my Mylar bags, I put in my vacuum sealer bags as well. The only thing with these is you have to be careful with putting things like powdery things into, I'm sorry, that's my dishwasher. The only thing with putting things into these and then vacuum sealing it, if it's like something like sugar or flour or oats or grits or whatever it is that you're vacuum sealing, if it's like a loose substance, it can't be anything liquidy, because you don't want it to destroy, break your vacuum sealer. This little hole that sucks in the air, you don't want it to get jammed with whatever it is it's trying to vacuum seal out. Vacuum seal, like the air that it's pulling out, it's gonna pull some of that content into it if it's too loose. So what I like to do is, I used to put when I was doing sugar, I would put a little sandwich bag at the top to keep the sugar from being pulled out. But I've learned to do things smarter. Some people put the content in brown paper bags. You can put like sugar, flour, whatever it is, into a brown paper bag, put it in these, and then vacuum seal it that way as well. But now I just started buying these packages, buying the packages itself, and then now it just makes life easier. You don't have to go through all of the trouble. I fill these up. I'm just gonna get a whole lot of them. I'm gonna put as many in there that will fit. Show you guys, whatever you like to eat that can be preserved, that is what you're gonna want to put and start saving. You can do cornmeal, you can do I put away all kinds of things. Cornmeal, I put away baking soda, things that you use to bake with your baked goods. Cocoa powder, if you like to, bake and cook, you cook with those things. Yeast, okay? Like if you make bread, I'm also going to do a video on how to make bread, because I think knowing how to make bread is very important for a time where, God forbid, we can't get bread out of the grocery store. And then having yeast is an essential part to making the bread. So, store up on yeast. The way you preserve yeast is putting that in the freezer. And then if we ever have a power outage, you might want to make sure it's in like a vacuum sealed bag, so that way you use it little at a time, or put it in a jar and but keep it frozen, store up on yeast, and keep it in the freezer. That's going to preserve its life if you are interested in making bread. I'm going to also do a bread video. So now once you have enough in here where it's pretty much full, you have to give it a little bit of space because it has to, make sure you guys can see. It has to go, the rigid side is what's gonna go at the bottom. I have a Bond, my vacuum sealer is called Bond's Kitchen. There's many different kinds. Mine is a Bond's Kitchen, a Bonson Kitchen vacuum sealer. And I also have the Bonson Kitchen vacuum seal bags, but it honestly doesn't, it doesn't really matter which kind of bags you get. It doesn't matter what kind of vacuum sealer you get. You just want to get one that's going to work. Okay, so you're going to place it like this inside here. Make sure the bag is even and all the way close at the top where it can't go up anymore. You'll know it's working because you'll see the air starting to come out. First, what you do is just vacuum seal. I press the back, you hold it to where all of that air is getting sucked out. And then that seal is going to vacuum all the air out and also seal it. Excuse me, once it's finished, it's going to seal it, seal the top. So you'll see now, it gets hard. Once all the air is out, it's gonna get really hard, and then it's gonna seal it at the top. And these are my different flavored grits. I mean, this is my different flavor oatmeals, because in the big bag that I showed you guys, in the Mylar bag, those are just plain rolled oats. Because you could make oat flour out of that. You can, you can also put brown sugar and do, maple brown sugar. Get some maple brown sugar, excuse me, and make your own flavored oats from that as well. You could do multiple things with that. But these are just going to be quick go-to meals for a later time when that time comes, and we may need to go onto our storage for food for whatever reason. So you'll know it's finished because the light will go off. This red light will go off. It's usually a red light there when it's still working. And then once it goes off, you press the two buttons on the side, lift up, and you see it's sealed. Okay, that's a seal right there. You can't get in there. And it's completely no air left in there. No air. Okay, that's gonna preserve its life. And so we're gonna keep doing that. We're gonna keep doing that with the oatmeal. I'm also gonna do a grits example. I have some flavored grits there. So I'm gonna do some grits. I've done the grits out, I've gotten a big bag and also put some in my vacuum sealer bag. But I had to do it a different way because it wasn't in these brown bags, which keep it from getting sucked into the machine. So I had to you have to get creative. Put something at the top. I put like little sandwich bags in there to keep it from getting sucked in there. So I would just I would fill the bags up, lay a little sandwich bag or something in there, and then it'll keep it from getting jammed inside this suction. So yes, that's if you don't have these little packs and you want to use, buy something in bulk and you're not able to have separate seals on them, like separate packaging like these are. Especially if you want to do something like sugar. I'm telling you guys, start storing up on as much sugar, flour. I did this also with wheat berries. Wheat berries are what flour comes from. I bought wheat berries. I bought some wheat berries in bulk, and I put them in Mylar bags. and I preserve them that way in the Mylar bags with the oxygen absorbers. And then I bought a hand, what do you call it, to grind up your wheat. A mill, I forget what it's called, but I bought the manual way to grind your wheat down. So I could, you could put your wheat berries in the top, and you do it by the hand, and you just make flour from the wheat berries, because they have the electric ones. But I was thinking of a time where, God forbid, we don't have power and we may need to do things back like the old times. So I did invest in one of those. I have not used it yet, but so I think that's as much as will go in there. Because remember, guys, you got to give yourself space at the top, or it won't seal. So you need enough space at the top to be able to stick it in and close it. So let's see if this will work. Might have to take one out. You'll know if it's working if it starts to seal. You hear all that crinkling? It's taking out all of that air. When you hear it stop, you know the air is pretty much out. So now I'm gonna vacuum seal. It's still gonna suck the remaining air from out of it, and then it's gonna seal it at the top. Okay, you see it has red lights. When those red lights go off, then you know it's finished. Now it's sealing, and now they went off. So now it is ready to press the buttons and take it out. So this is what happens. If you have it too much over the top where it's supposed to be, it'll kind of, you see it seal, go sit down. You see it'll kind of, now this is kind of out, but it's okay. It's okay, guys. It'll still stay sealed unless it's tampered with. But all of that air is out of there. All of that air. This is going to preserve the life of this for longer than it would sitting in its regular packaging outside of a vacuum sealed bag. So those are, those are, a few ways to preserve your food. Once again, another way to preserve your food is mason jars. Mason jars is another way to preserve your food. I'm going to give you an example. Okay, so as I told you, this is another way to store anything you're preserving in 5-gallon buckets. If you want to have a lot of it, if you have a big family, you need a lot of food in your storage, get some 5-gallon buckets. The food grade ones are really the best ones to get, but you can also get ones from Home Depot, Lowe's. You can get them wherever you can, wherever it's going to have a really good seal when you press, when you can seal it really well. You're also going to fill these up. You can put them in Mylar bags and put the Mylar bags in here, or you can just put them in here and then put some oxygen absorbers in here. Say if it's rice, you can put bay leaves and some oxygen absorbers. If it's beans, you can put some bay leaves, because bay leaves keep little bugs away as well. It's like a repellent. But you can do some bay leaves and oxygen absorbers. You're going to want to use the 5-gallon oxygen absorbers as well for the 5-gallon buckets. You're gonna want to label your buckets as well. You know what it is, the month and the year. You want to label it. So this is another way to preserve it. If it's beans, if it's oats, if it's rice, you know, sugar, beans, rice, oats, your sugar, whatever it is you're trying to preserve. You can also use the gallon buckets. You can also put your food in these mason jars and label it here. You can do that as well. This is oats. And then let me show you what I did. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is an electric mason jar vacuum sealer. Amazon, guys. I purchased a lot of this stuff from Amazon. You can, it's really simple to use. For the regular mouth, you're going to use this part. If it's a wide mouth jar, you just snap on this part and you put your contents inside the jar. You put it on top, you just press down. Well, it has the top on there, but without the ring, you just press it down on there and then you just press the button. It's really simple. So yes, you can put food in these mason jars. It stores really well. Some people even prefer this over anything else in mason jars. I mean, I have flour. This is actually powdered sugar. Powdered sugar, mason jars. I have Cheez-Its mason jar, long-term storage. Guys, it's gonna last and still be a bit fresh years after being in these mason jars. Cheez-Its, I have flour here. This is flour. I also have sugar. So you see, I have the same things stored away in different ways. I also have some pasta noodles stored away. I did this May of 2024. These are still just as good as new. And in a few years, it's going to be still just as good as new, you know, being stored away like this. Being stored away in this way. So yeah, you're just going to put them in your mason jars. These are half gallons. These sizes are half gallon sizes. And you're gonna put this vacuum seal on there and vacuum it up. It has to be dry goods though. It can't be anything wet with moisture. So our next videos are going to be canning food that you can just literally pop the lid open and eat. And in case of an emergency and you don't have to cook it, it's a process of canning and to preserve your food on a shelf. Just like you would buy cans of food, you're gonna be canning your own food. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Also, I forgot to mention peanuts. I do vacuum seals. I vacuum seal my peanuts as well. You know, that's gonna preserve the life of your peanuts for a long, long time. Cereal as well. These are Cheerios. So literally anything you can think of that is dry, you know, it doesn't have too much moisture in it that you might want to put away. Cookies, all kinds of things. Okay, so thank you guys for watching and we'll be back with the next one.